Hello everyone, my name is Spencer Dobson, and in this video I'm going to walk you through a learning strategy that has helped me understand and remember concepts so much better: self-explaining. Self-explaining is part of generative learning. It requires you to actively produce meaning instead of just taking information in. The idea of self-explaining originally came from the cognitive psychology research in the 1980s, when experiments showed that students who explained ideas to themselves learned more deeply than those who simply read the material. Today I'll cover what self-explaining is, how to do it, why it matters, and how I've used it in my own life. So first, what really is self-explaining? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's explaining information to yourself in your own words. While it may seem simple, it actually reveals a lot about what you understand and what you don't. When you self-explain, you naturally uncover your strong points and your weaker points. And because it came out of psychology experiments, we know it works for most learners, not just a few. So, how do you self-explain? The process is actually really simple, and you can follow it with almost any assignment. Here are the steps. First, read the material. Second, reflect on what it means. Pause and think, and ask yourself, what is this really trying to tell me? Third, explain it in your own words. Say it out loud as if you're teaching it. Fourth, identify any confusion. If you can't explain a part, that's a sign you need to revisit it. Fifth, re-explain it. Once you clear up that confusion, practice it over and over again until you master it. And sixth, apply it. Use that idea in an example problem or scenario. These steps help you slow down and actually process what you're learning. Self-explaining helps the most in subjects like math and science, where ideas build on each other. On the right, you will see some mnemonics I made to remember geological terms through using self-explaining. By putting concepts into your own words, you connect the words you're reading to the actual thoughts happening in your mind, and that connection is what creates real understanding. So, why do you want to use it? Well, it's especially useful if you're studying alone because it lets you act as your own teacher. Other strategies are helpful too, but they have some limitations. For example, summarizing is often too surface level, and you can't always summarize something without fully understanding it. Teaching is great, but it requires an audience, so self-teaching works best if you're alone. Concept mapping helps with structure, but it doesn't always push you to understand the meaning behind the ideas. Self-explaining fills that gap. It forces you to think more deeply and reveals what you truly understand and what you might not. I've actually used this strategy in the past in topics like history, calculus, and biology. This year, I've used it to reinforce information from my geology and political science lectures, as well as in my English class. On the right, you'll see me working through a problem on the whiteboard. My friend took this picture of me and said I was locked in. On the next slide is an example of me self-explaining a climate change map that I was originally confused about after a geology lecture. Okay, so this is a climate change map, and there is this graph, and I see that there's temperature, and there's a date, and there's this kind of graph, but I'm a little confused on what it means. But first, I kind of already know what the axes are. There's temperature and there's date, so I know this is change over time. I can kind of see that there are two main parts. There's this part, and there's this part. And I can see that this is a natural impact line that also goes through here, and I can see that there is a human impact line that is up here. So I'm not incredibly confused, but I can also see that this line right here means that this is the real impact. And so I have to kind of think that there is a natural impact and also human impact. Otherwise, the line would either be straight on the natural impact or straight up as a human impact, but it's a combination. So there is a human impact and there's also a natural impact on climate change. Like any strategy, self explaining has some challenges and limitations. Sometimes you might end up giving yourself the wrong explanation, or you might realize that you need extra help from a tutor, professor, or classmate. It also doesn't work well everywhere. For example, if your dorm room is distracting, you might need a much quieter space. But here are a few tips that make it work much better. First, use a whiteboard. Writing and explaining at the same time reinforces those ideas. It allows you to build off ideas previously written and makes connections flow easier rather than on paper. Second is to talk out loud, not in your head. Speaking out loud forces you to organize your thoughts more clearly. Once you get used to it, these challenges get a lot easier to manage. Overall, self-explaining has really changed the way I study. It's helped me catch mistakes early, understand concepts more deeply, and actually remember information way beyond the exam. Whether you're in geology, political science, math, or any other course, I think it really can benefit you. Try it during your next study session, even for just a few minutes, and see how much clearer the material becomes. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helps you study more actively and confidently.